until this point, we've been working with void functions. And a void function is a function that does not return a value. That means that you can call it from main, you can call it from another function, but whatever it does stays inside that function. No values get brought back to the point of call. So now I want to take a look at a value returning function. And a value returning function is one that does return something to the point where it has been called. So value returning functions are defined a little differently. So let's take a look at this sample program. You have these prototypes here that tell you that there are two functions defined in this program. You have sum and sum return. Sum is a void function, so let's look at the definition for that one first. You see that it receives two values, two integers, and it sums them and displays their sum right inside the function itself. Now look at sum return. So this tells me that sum return is returning an integer. Remember that main is defined the same way, and it has the corresponding return statement. So sum return is going to return an integer, and it accepts two integers as parameters. So now take a look at the definition for sum return. Here's sum return. Here are the two values that it accepts as parameters. A variable local to this function is declared z, and z is the sum of x plus y. And then you have a return statement. You return z. Notice that z is defined as an integer, and notice that the return type is integer. So those two data types match. You are returning the value of z back to main. So now let's review main and see how these functions are used. So in main, I'm declaring three integers, num1, num2, and total. I ask the user to enter in the first value, that's num1, enter in the second value, that's num2, and then I call the first one sum. Remember, this is our void function. So it's simply the function name and the two variable names, no data types in a function call. And then the next statement is calling the sum return function. Notice where it's been placed. The function call is inside the cout statement. So sum return function with call in cout. Sum return, that's the function name, and here are the two values that it accepts. So when it comes back, that returned value of z is what gets displayed here. That takes the place of this function call, and it displays that value. That's one way to use a value returning function. Another way would be to create an assignment statement. So you know that sum return is going to return a value. So I'm just going to comment this out. And instead, right here, call sum return and assign the returned value to total. Remember, we have this total variable declared. So call sum return, sending it num1 and num2. Now assign what gets returned to total. So remember, when you're doing an assignment statement, the answer is on the left and the expression is on the right. So treat the function call as you would an expression. You're going to go away from main. You're going to call this function. You're going to send it these two values. The value that gets returned, z's value, gets assigned to total. Now, you could have a cout statement. Right, for total. Okay, and this does exactly the same thing as what we did here. The difference being that you're storing the value in total in case you need to use it in a calculation later. So think about the POW function. The POW is a value returning function, and it does the same thing. You put the answer in an assignment statement so you can use it later on.